Sir, good morning.
Good morning. Good morning.
Good morning, Ryan sir.
Good morning. Good morning.
Prashant, the principal sir has joined. Okay, Rajan sir.
Good morning, Rajan sir.
Good morning, Mr. Prashant.
Nice to meet you.
Yes, thank you.
Prashant, I think your mic is mute.
Yeah. I just kept it mute.
Amal, can we start now because I have another meeting at 10:30.
Yes, sir. The group is full. I think, Jobin, we can start.
Yes, Kavya.
Yes, sir. A very warm good morning to one and all present here. I hope everyone is healthy and safe. My name is Kavya R, student of S7CS, and it's my pleasure to welcome you all to the inauguration of CSC Association of Vishwajyoti College of Engineering and Technology. As we all know, no program can be started without remembering the Almighty, the creator of the whole universe. So, I would like to call Miss Ans Maria Matthew, student of S7CS, to help us communicate with the Almighty.
Lead kindly light amidst encircling gloom. Lead me on. The night is dark and I am far from home. Lead me on. Keep to my feet, I do not ask to see the distance seem one step enough for me. Lead kindly light amidst encircling gloom. Lead me on. Lead me on.
Thank you, Ans, for such wonderful prayer. Before we begin this event, I would like to express my heartfelt gratitude to all of you who are sincerely committed to this event to make it a success. This event would have been impossible without the support of each and everyone present here. Moving forward, I would like to invite Mr. Amal Austin, HOD of CSE Department, for the welcome speech. Sir.
Thank you, Kavya. Respected Principal, Dr. K.K. Rajan, Chief Guest of the Day, Mr. Prashant, my dear colleagues, dear students, a warm good morning to one and all. Association, a department association inauguration. It is a major event during each academic year of the department. Voice, it is an opportunity to all the students and staff members to work together for the goodwill of the institution and the computer science and engineering department by organizing various socially and technically relevant programs. During this pandemic, we are forced to conduct the event in the online mode. So we all missed a chance to gather together and in turn, a chance to see each other. Whatever might be the situation, the show must go on. We cannot wait for everything gets settled down to do our duties and conduct various academic and non-academic events. At the same time, there is an advantage of conducting our inauguration in online mode. Our chief guest, Mr. Prashant Nair, we got an opportunity to hear his valuable words only because we are conducting this event in online mode. Getting a job in technical industry is not a Herculean task now, especially for IT, computer science students. But choosing the apt one, maintaining it, and reaching the heights are not that easy. So as growing professionals, dear students, this is a very important matter in your future life. But you all are really lucky to hear about it from a person who is having a great experience in industry, especially as a product manager of Facebook. So I request all of you to make real use of this opportunity. Now, let me move to the duty bestowed upon me. First, actually, our director, Father Paul Nadumbarathu he will be joining with us. Right now, he is a little busy, but he will be joining with us. I want to welcome him in absentia. Usually, with all his presence, he always spread the fragrance of spiritual and professional motivation to the staff and students of Vishijyoti family. Always he takes keen interest to join each and every activities which are conducted by every department in this institution. So I welcome him in his absentia. Dr. K.K. Rajan, our dear principal, the leader of the dedicated staff of Vishijyoti, he strengthens the bond among the members of this family to maintain the discipline and professional excellence. I take this opportunity to welcome our dear principal to this meeting. Welcome, sir.
Thank you. Thank you.
Mr. Prashant Nair, product manager of Facebook, chief guest of the day. He will be sharing his experience and he will be motivating all of us with his valuable words. The detailed profile summary will be sharing with you all soon. So I'm not going to disclose everything that will be shared later. So I'm very happy to welcome Mr. Prashant Nair to this event. Welcome, Mr. Prashant.
Thank you.
I take this opportunity to welcome our dearest Dr. Anishin Raj, Dean R&D, and Professor CSE to this meeting. Welcome, sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Even in this pandemic situation, the meeting was well arranged, and that was done by Mr. Jobin Jose, our association in charge, with the help of other faculty members. Anyhow, the event, we were planned to conduct in offline mode, but suddenly we shifted it into online mode. But there is no issues. It was well organized by Jobin sir. I welcome Jobin sir to this meeting.
Thank you, sir.
I take this opportunity to welcome all the heads of the department and my dear colleagues, all the teaching and technical staff to this meeting. I welcome all the faculty and non-teaching staff to this meeting. Last but not the least, I welcome the beneficiaries of this event. I welcome all my dear students to this function. we should make our association voice as the voice of Vishijodi. We will start our journey for this academic year from today onwards, and we will be showing our excellence in various activities which we are going to conduct in this academic year. Once again, I welcome you all to this function. Thank you.
Father has joined.
Our director has joined right now.
I take this opportunity. I already told you, but thank you very much, Father, for joining in this in your today's busy schedule. I welcome Father Paul Nedumburat to this function. Welcome, Father.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you for your wise words, sir. I now request our Honorable Principal, Dr. K.K. Rajan, to address the meeting.
Respected Director, Reverend Father Paul Nedumburat, Chief Guest of the Day, Mr. Prashant Nair, Product Manager, Facebook USA, Head of the CSE Department, Professor Amal Austin, Dr. Anishinda Dean R&D, other deans and heads of the Department of VJCET, Sri Jobin Jose, Faculty Coordinator of CSE Association, Sri Naveen Joseph, Secretary CSE Association, faculty members of Department of Computer Science and Engineering, and my dear students, good morning to one and all. It gives me immense pleasure to note that Computer Science and Engineering Department of VJCET is commencing the activities of this association, OIS 22, today with its formal inaugural function. Computer Science and Engineering and Computer Science and Design are the most wanted branches of engineering for admission or having maximum demand as on today. 90% of the students opting for engineering wanted to study computer science and engineering. The reason for the high demand is probably the large number of career opportunities available for them in India and abroad. I mean the CSE and CSD graduates. Around 10,000 CSE graduates are coming out every year from Kerala. All over India, the number of CSE graduates coming out will be of the order of 1 lakh. So in the job market, there will be tough competition for getting a job, getting a good job. There are opportunities, but the opportunities are of wide range, from 2 lakhs per annum to 15 lakhs per annum. Most of you may be satisfied with the medium category placements, which everybody will get, or everybody will be getting to the campus placement or the campus selection process. Each one of you have very high potential. You have to understand that. You have to aim at the top layer, quality placement of high package and high level of job satisfaction. To achieve that, you should become a computer science and engineering professional rather than a mere computer engineering graduate. The development taking place in the field of computer science and engineering is very fast and nobody can catch up and nobody can be up to date on that. Each one of you have to select at least one area of your interest. Focus on that area of interest. Focus at least in the area of your interest and try to be updated in that area. To achieve this, classroom teaching and learning is not adequate. The mode of outside classroom learning has to be evolved. You should continue to read. You should continue to listen. You should continue to watch and continue to learn new things. For outside classroom learning, which I am emphasizing now, this Computer Science and Engineering Association and other professional bodies like Computer Society of India can play a major role. They can act as a catalyst for this outside classroom learning. Another point I want to bring to the notice of association is interbranch interaction and interbranch knowledge sharing. The basic engineering subjects which you are studying in the first year, or computer engineering students are studying basic mechanical, civil, electrical, electronics engineering in the first year classes, they are all very important. Computer engineers alone cannot do any mega project. You have to understand what others are doing and what are their requirements, especially in the field of other engineering like mechanical, electrical and all. And you have to think how computerization or how software development or how your contribution can improve the quality of the product they are making or quality of the services they are providing. So by understanding that, you will be able to contribute your profession, your computer can be effectively and efficiently used for the effectively contributing to the society. In addition, the leadership quality and organizing ability of engineering graduates is very important. Organizing an event, public speaking, paper presentation, paper writing, documentation are all essential qualities required for an engineer. In VJCT, Vishwajyoti College of Engineering and Technology, OIS 22 is going to be a student-driven initiative. Only the overall guidance is provided by the head of the department and other faculty members. Otherwise, all activities are organized and led by students. Coming to our chief guest, Sri Prashant Nair is a senior engineer in the field, an eminent personality, and that also from a reputed organization, which all of us are very familiar. He is going to talk about career management in tech industry, a very relevant topic in today's context. On behalf of Vishwajyoti College of Engineering and Technology, I once again welcome him to this audience and also thank him for sparing his valuable time with us today.
Thank you,
I
sir.
am sure his talk, his interaction will be really an inspirational one for all of you. I wish a successful and fruitful day for each one of you. I also wish all success for the association OIS 22 for the entire academic year. I hope the office bearers of CSE Computer Science and Engineering Association will organize many programs which will benefit all of you. With these few words, I conclude. Thank you all. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Let us now welcome the Director of VJCET, Father Paul Nedumurathu, for the Director's remarks.
Dr. K.K. Rajan, respected principal of the college, Mr. Prashant Nair, the chief guest of the day, Mr. Amal Austin, head of the department, Mr. Anishin Dutch, Dean R&D, respected members of the staff, HODs and members of other departments, and above all, my dear students. I'm on the way to attend a function at 10:30 a.m. So I am not supposed to take so much of time of yours. That will be a blessing for you. And I have to leave at the earliest. So I don't speak at length. I wish you all the best. The association activities to be on from today onwards. Of course, we are very much confined to the limitations of the time, the pandemic situation. We don't have offline activities, yet we shall make use of all the possibilities of online mode to do our work effectively. What I would like to remind you, the computer science students, is that this is the association with the largest number of members, and that should have its own effect on the academic activities of the institution. Your contribution to the academic life of the institution shall form the major share of all the activities together. I wish you all the best, the association secretary, all the members of the association, and I would also add one more word, that it is the students forum. The association is a students forum where the students have to take all the leadership and do maximum work so that they may be enriched, and the institution also will be enriched out of the activities of the association. Wishing you all the best. I remain. Thank you very much for allowing me a little time in between. Thank you.
Thank you, Father. Now, to address the gathering and to give a brief introduction of our honorable chief guest, I would like to invite our most beloved mentor, Dr. Anishin Raj MM, Dean, R&D Department.
I hope I'm audible. Kavya, am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, okay, thank you. So, respected Director, Reverend Father Paul Nedumartha, respected Principal Dr. K.K. Rajan, sir, Vice Principal in his absentia, respected HOD Amanda Austin, sir, Program Coordinator Mr. Jobin, sir, Soumya Matthew, dear student Naveen, dear faculty members, staff members, and dear students. So, good morning, one and all. It's indeed my great pleasure to introduce the chief guest, my dear friend and classmate, Mr. Prasad Nair, the product manager of Facebook. And I would like to express my sincere gratitude to Mr. Prasad for accepting our invitation and to become our chief guest of CSC Association Inauguration, even during his busy schedule. And I would like to say a few words regarding the necessity and relevance of a talk on career management in tech industry before introducing our chief guest. Just a few words, then I will just introduce the chief guest after. So, as we all know, we have heard about the NASSCOM, like National Association of Software and Services Company survey. So, even the students are having so much of job opportunity now, and still we know that the revenue generation may have a sudden steep rise in cloud platform by 2025. All of us might have seen those reviews and articles. And so, obviously or tacitly, this will implies an augmentation of job opportunities. So definitely there will be a high amount of job opportunity even in the future also. And 70% of the organizations are looking for hybrid work models. That also you might have seen, like after the post-COVID, the industries are planning for switchover of the working model. So 70% of the organizations are looking for a hybrid working model. So all these things will have an implications on your future career. So what I'm trying to say is, so there are obviously, we all know this principal sir has told. So like we have the students are all having a multiple job opportunities. Even now, I know many of students who are having opportunities in Infosys, Wipro, TCS. There are students who have got more than 4 jobs also. So which one to choose? That's the dichotomy of mind which the students are having nowadays, and they are in a haze of confusion on the future plans, whether to do MS after 1 year or 2 year, or to do MBA in Australia or US. These are the major concerns. So I think the person's, Mr. Resource Person's talk will have an insight to the various aspects in these sense, like how to deal the career resilience, career insights, career identity, and about the various strategies, innovations, and prototyping. So I'm sure that person is good in all these things, and the sales management concepts. So all these things will be covered in short, in a gist, I hope. And now I'll jump to the duty bestowed on me, that's to introduce the chief guest, our resource person, that is Mr. Prasad. So he's regarding his experience, He's having experience as a product manager at Facebook USA, and before that, he had experience spans over as a product manager in Groupon, Kellogg Innovations, then Mercedes-Benz as a technical architect, and senior programmer as a senior programmer in Sindel. And his education qualifications, he completed his BTech in computer science from Cochin University of Science and Technology from College of Engineering, Changanur, and the MBA in marketing and general management from Northwest University, USA. He had qualified GMAT and was been in the Dean's Honors list for academic excellence during his MBA at Northwestern University, USA. So that's all about Mr. Prashant. So thank you, Prashant, for joining. That's all from my side. Over to you, Kavya.
Thank you, sir. Now I would like to invite our honorable chief guest for the technical talk.
Awesome. Thank you, Kavya. So, dear Director, Reverend Father Paul Nirumbaratha, Principal Dr. K.K. Rajan, Vice Principal Mr. Swami P. Matthew, Dean Dr. Anshin, HOD Mr. Amil Austin, Program Coordinators Mr. Joben, Mrs. Saumya, Mr. Naveen, and dear faculty members, staff members, and dear students. Thank you so much for inviting me for this very important occasion. And thanks, Anshin, for introducing me to the event. So I think I'm not sure whether the expectation that all of you have from this talk matches with what the content I'm going to present. But let's dive into the content and see whether it makes sense. This is a big forum, so I don't know whether you would be able to ask questions, but if you have any pressing questions, I don't know whether you can see whether how to probably ask these questions in between. Let me, I will directly get into the talk right now. Let me share the screen. Awesome. I think you can see the screen, right?
Yes.
Cool. Awesome. So let me establish the goal of the session for today. It is actually to provide you framework to think about your long-term career and take meaningful actions that would help you to accelerate your growth. So this is basically take yourself 20 or 50,000 feet above what you are trying to look at, right? And then take have a view from a 50,000 feet high and see what you can do. Like, what are the framework that you can apply for your career growth, right? This is the kind of approach that I have. I'm not going to talk about any industry overview. I'm not going to share any technologies and tools you should learn to get your next job. I'm also not going to share what I do in my current role or my company. So I hope that the goal of the session is clear to you. It's basically some kind of a framework to think about how you think about your long-term growth and plan, and how you take actions accordingly to make yourself successful over the long term. We'll get to the details and then we'll know more. So approach, right? I'm not a career guru. So I just put that image in there, but I'm not a career guru. So the conversation that I'm going to have today is basically based on people reaching out to me and asking me questions. So some of my friends reach out to me like, hey, whether should I do this? Should I do that? What is my next job? Should I apply for this job? I have couple of offers. Should I take this one versus the other one? So these are some of the questions that people face in between their career. It could be right out of the college, or it could be later when you have second job, third job, whatever it is, right? So by profession, I'm a product manager right now. So I'm not sure whether how many of you are familiar with this product management concept. It's relatively new in the sense that the field has emerged over probably last 10 years or so, 10 to 15 years. Because product management, as in the current form, was not existent before in 2000s or something. There it was more about you have a certain set of demands and you build what is required by the business, right? The discipline of product management is trying to see with the limited, you have a constraint, which is basically limited set of resources. You can think of that as engineers, right? In my current role, I may have access to, say, 5 to 10 extremely motivated engineers, designers, data scientists, marketers, and a couple of other people, right? With that context, what are the type of product launches, what are the type of things that you launch to optimize the impact on the company. Each company would have a different thing. For example, deals platform, Groupon, may want their deals to be sold, right? They want people to buy their deals, right? In that company, probably my role would be to make sure that I'm able to sell as many deals as possible through all the product features that I launch, right? So every field or every particular company may have different type of role. So the product manager's role is to make sure that you do the right thing to maximize the impact. Take that example. This is actually, the methodology applies to everything. You can actually take that example and apply to career growth. So I'm trying to do that today here. Take individual actions with a long-term perspective to optimize your chance of great success in your career with a limited set of resources. In your case, right, if you are the product manager of your career, what you have access to is your time, effort, talent, and money. And the opportunity in front of you depends on the kind of action that you take, right? Every action has an impact on how it aligns with your long-term vision or goal. With that base of setting, like, I'll get to the next thing. Here, it's basically a check saying careers are long-term for life, right? People work up to 60, 65 years. In US, people work up to 65 years. In India, 58, probably 60. With a lot of private sector companies in there, people may even work more because there is no social security benefit. There is less of social security benefit. So you may end up working a lot depending on your financial cushion, which means it is just a long journey, right? Campus job, the first job that you get out of the campus is just the beginning. You need to prepare for the long run with a very holistic approach. People say like career is not a sprint, it's basically a marathon. With that realization or understanding, you'll get to the next step. Or any career, right? Say I'm again going back to the product management kind of thinking. Anything, the first step is for you to have a long-term vision, right? If career is a journey, then vision is your destination. Why it is important? If you do not have a destination, you may be going around in circles because you don't know, right? You don't have a long-term view in your mind. You're basically going in around circles. You may make some progress, but you're not going so far. If you know the destination, you can optimize the journey and make it efficient. If you put it in a destination in a Google map, it will optimize for you and give you probably the shortest path or the shortest time to reach the destination. It's the same. If you have a long-term vision, then you would be able to optimize the path to that long-term vision. And the final thing is, if you have a choice to decide where you want to go, right? For example, if you want to do a vacation, do you want to go to a boring place or the most exciting place? You may want to go to a mountain top. You may want to go to an oceanside beach, right? And relax. If you have a choice to make that decision, then you probably choose the best destination that you can afford, which is the same case in your future too. A vision has to be inspiring, motivational, and passionate, right? Nobody wants to work for a vision which is boring, right? And everybody has a sense of vision is completely different. Each person is different, right? Your vision is different from my vision. And the vision is bold, and it doesn't have to be limited based on your current context, right? So for example, I'm in this particular sense, I'm doing whatever it, and I have like probably my grade is like this. Can I dream big? Can I have a big vision? I can, because vision is a long-term thing, right? It doesn't have to be limited with the context where you are. It's not limited by any capability constraints or skill constraints. And the third thing is vision has to be specific enough that you can describe in detail to anybody. This is what I want to be like in 10 years, right? And the final thing is it has to be simple enough that you can think about it easily, right? And ultimately, a vision helps you to achieve beyond what is seemingly possible, right? Without a vision, you're optimizing for local maxima. I know you're familiar with the local maxima, right? Absolute maxima, local maxima. If you're just optimizing for short term, you're not really achieving your full potential. So that's why the first step, setting a vision, long-term vision, is super important. Now we'll get into the details of what you mean by a long-term vision. Some examples of a vision, right? Okay, I will start with the very basic vision. I will start a technology startup in 10 years. Anybody can have this vision, right? If you really want to do a startup in 10 years, yeah, I will do a startup. Let me make it better, right? I will start a technology startup in healthcare in 10 years. I'm going more specific. It's simple, it's very clear. I can tell to anybody, and I believe in it. And even better is I will have a startup with a seed funding in 10 years in the healthcare sector in Bangalore. Now you are actually taking yourself accountable for something with a very, very specific detail and with simplicity. Now, this is just an example of vision, right? It could be different. People are different and they could have different type of vision. Somebody could have a vision of, I'll be a senior software engineer at a tier 1 technology company such as Google in 10 years, right? That could be one other vision. I'll retire in 10 years from my active career and focus on my hobby of wildlife photography for the rest of my life. That could also be a vision. And I'll be a renowned expert in artificial intelligence in 10 years with at least 2 papers published in international publication. This is again vision. These are bold visions, right? Depending on how you think about it. And nothing is stopping you from visualizing this. This isn't it possible. This is long term. And examples of non-vision, right? Not everything is a vision. If you think about, I will make a lot of money. Does that sound like a vision? No, it's not. It's just basically some dream, right? You want to make a lot of money. How? What you will do, right? You could make it a vision by going specific and saying specific things. I'll be a senior manager somewhere. Does that make sense? No, it doesn't. It has to be specific, simple, detailed, bold, and you need to be passionate. One other thing is you need to really believe in it. Otherwise, you won't be able to work for it for the next 10 years, right? It is good to start with a vision and improve on the way as you learn more. Because starting point, probably if you are first year in engineering or even fourth year in engineering, it may be, you may not be able to get that vision on the first day. You start with something that you like, right? Probably Google example is something simple, something like that. And you improve on the way as you learn more about yourself. How do you set the vision, right? Identify what motivates you. This is super important. So for example, I'll give you a different, there is data structures and algorithms, right? If you hate that paper, right? If you think this doesn't make any sense, then if you want to be a software engineer at Google after 10 years, probably that does not make sense, right? So you have to think what actually motivates you. What are you passionate about, right? And what skill set that you have displayed in the past. All of us have different type of skill set. There are some obvious skill set, there are non-obvious skill set. And also, like, if you are not able to figure out what skills you have, ask people you trust, your friends, your teachers, anybody, your parents. You can ask them, like, what am I good at? What traits you have seen in my past? What do you think? Like, somebody will say, hey, you are good at like talking to people, empathizing with them. You're good at organizing small events. You have so many things. You're so super creative. So many insight you can generate from others. People generally call it as 360-degree feedback. There are tools to do that, but you can actually do it manually. You can ask people around you, right? You can do some kind of thinking, try to create some self-awareness. There are obvious skills, which is coding, problem solving, people skills, communication, selling. All of these skills would be evident within your academic career, right? Or academic period when you're in college. These are obvious. People will know. If somebody is a coding genius, everybody knows that this guy knows how to code, right? Those are obvious. But there are non-obvious skills also, right? Those would also help you to reach heights like efficiency and process improvement. You don't like mess, right? You see certain things happening, and next time you do it better. This is something that you only know, right? Others may not be able to know. The process improvement, how to make things efficient, those are valuable skill set, which are applicable at different type of industries, different type of roles, operations, leading operations in different companies, so many aspects to it. Resolving ambiguity. Some people are so good at it, right? Given a very complex problem, you can simplify it and then explain it in a very simple manner. That's a very, very valuable skill set. Team building, right? You are so good at organizing your college teams, right? Or college trip, or like some games or different things, right? Or creativity. So identify what motivates you, what are you passionate about, to decide on the vision. It is not easy to be self-aware, right? Some interviews have these questions: what are your top strengths? What are your top weakness? People generally, even including me, I kind of like identify 2 strengths, 2 weakness examples and talk about it. But it is way more than that, right? Think about yourself and then start identifying what motivates you. Spend some time. Everyone has something or other kind of skills. Nobody is there who has no skills. And most of those skills could be deployed successfully for your career growth. Now, we thought about the vision, right? If a vision defines the destination, then the plan is your route map to reach there, right? Imagine you want to be a senior software engineer at Google in 10 years, right? That's a vision. But to reach that vision, you need to build a plan, right? It may not be like straightforward. Probably some people like in IIT, some of those guys get recruited by Google. But if you're not from IIT, there is a path to it, right? Every one of those bigger roles have a path to it. You need to discover that, and it is very well possible, right? That's what we'll talk about. A plan would require a couple of things. You need to identify progress you need to identify milestones and track your progress, right? And any big thing that you want to do would require you to do so many small steps, right? It's not one jump to a bigger thing, right? It is like several small steps that will take you to the big thing. And you need to execute relentlessly. If you are not planning, if you are not committed to execute, right, then nothing will save you, nothing will help you. Once you have a vision, you have a plan, you have to diligently execute. And nothing is possible just by your own effort. You need to leverage resources and people. There are so many things. We'll get into the details of that. And you need to measure your progress and success. And ultimately, no plan is static. You need to refine, pivot based on the new information and new reality. And finally, risk management, right? If something fails, what will you do? What is your backup? How do you think about it, right? You need to do risk manage. All of these probably look a little complicated, but it's not exactly. I'm just using the terms that we use in the general business, but once you get to the details, you know it's super simple. You may require, so the vision thing you can do on yourself, right? You can do introspection, self-awareness, and build that vision. But this plan, you may require support from somebody. For example, if somebody asks you, how do you get to a senior software engineer at Google in 10 years? You probably may not know, right? You may need support from somebody. You may need help from professors. You may need alumni who is at Google or somebody at Google or some other expert to guide you through that. So you may need some support in here, but you can get it. Now, we talk about vision. We talk about the path to vision, which is planning. And planning's key component of planning is milestones, right? Which are the small step that you need to do every time to be able to get to that bigger step. Milestones represent short to medium term targets, right? A milestone help you to bridge some of the skill gap between your current state and the vision. So it's super simple, right? Now I'm a student at Vishwajyoti Engineering College. What I want to see is myself as a senior software engineer. I'm taking this example because it's simple. There could be so many other things. I want to be a senior software engineer at Google after 10 years, right? The gap between these two is like a lot of things, right? It's not only just preparing for the interview. You need to like prove your credibility so that the Google will call you for an interview. You need to do so many things, right? You need to build these into milestones that will bridge the gap so that you're slowly getting to your vision. And every milestone has an entry and an exit. Once you exit a milestone, you have achieved skills, network, and additional resources that would help you to be successful. And you have to build the milestones that would help you to make consistent progress and tackle a few things at a time. This may be looking a little complicated, but once we get into this definition of milestone and look at an example, you will know it is just simple. It's just like planning anything else, right? So navigating to the next job or a milestone, right? I think Anshin mentioned about like some of you have like an amazing confusion of choosing between multiple jobs, which is great. because I think that's a nice, sweet confusion. So I would not. I mean, it's difficult to answer that question directly. Which one is better, Infosys or TCS or CTS? But you can answer with a framework. It's not always upload your resume and get your next job, right? Every time you have such a question of choice, you need to ask this question: would my next job help me to progress towards my vision, right? So imagine if your goal is to start a company in 10 years, would CTS, Infosys, or TCS be the right choice? Or the choice is immaterial, right? It doesn't matter because your long-term goal is something else. But if your long-term goal is to be a client partner is one of these companies, then yes, which company offers you the maximum accelerated career growth in to get to a client partner role? Then probably all of them gives you equal opportunity. It's more about how you execute, how you diligently do your job would define your progress. Then also it's simple. Then you go for the best paying job, right? So it's actually the long-term vision that makes a difference whether you want to you're making the right choice at this point of time. Would my next job help me progress towards my vision? That's the first question. Second question, would the next job help me to pick up the skills that I require for my long-term plan? And the third is, would the next job help me to connect with the right kind of people whom I can leverage in the future? So for example, if you want to start a company, right, and you probably want to connect with the founders, would Infosys or CTS gives you that opportunity, right? So I think this depends on your goal. If you want to go to United States and work in some companies, be a client partner, then this is the right path. This is exactly how it is. Then you probably may have to connect with some of your alumni and see like which of these companies are actually giving you on-site options quickly, right? Getting people to US or any other country. So I think having a long-term view would make these decisions super easy. If you don't have a vision, then what you will end up doing is choosing a job that pays maximum, right? That's not bad, but always, as I mentioned earlier, if you don't have a destination, you are going in circles. Examples of a milestone. We talked about the milestone, what exactly this milestone stands for, right? I'm just taking a vision and then splitting it into milestones to make it hopefully clear. The vision is I will have a startup with the seed funding in 10 years in healthcare sector in Bangalore. This is my vision, right? How do I build milestones out of it? I will define different milestones, and each milestone will have a goal, and there is a duration, and then there is an exit criteria. So I'm starting with the BTech degree because I think there are first-year students. So I just start with the BTech degree. The first milestone is BTech degree, right? What am I going to learn? The goals for me is learn foundational technology skills, build a network of peers that you can trust, because people whom you are studying with are going to be your trusted partners for a long time in your life, right? So those are the two valuable things that you're going to develop. It could be different. I'm just defining an example, right? Each person could have a different goal from the BTech. And 4 years, you spend and you learn this. The next thing, milestone 1, imagine it's an IT job, right? CTS, Infosys, any of that. What would your goal would be in this case? Learn process to execute projects successfully, right? You need to be able to execute bigger projects, right? A startup require you to execute a product, which means you need to build that muscle, right? You will learn that. Second is learn technologies that are used in startup and build expertise. The third is build a network of people who can help you to get the startup job. Imagine you spend that 2 years and you pick up all these skills, right? The next is a very, very tricky switch. You need to actually go and work with a startup. So that's why connecting with the people and building the right kind of skill set is very important. The next milestone for you is to get to a very early stage startup. From a service provider company, if you want to get to a startup in a later stage, it may be difficult or it may be easy depending on the context. I'm thinking it is difficult. So in that case, you may want to go and work with a very early stage startup, right? With a few people in there. In that case, what are your learning goals, right? Learn startup velocity and accelerated execution. Startup operate in a very different manner, right? They have super accelerated execution velocity. Then the second thing is connect with the founder and understand the challenges. If you want to start a startup, right, you probably understand what are the challenges with running a startup. You probably would allocate 2 years to this, right? Now you go to the next milestone, which is milestone 3. Now you're going to a Series A startup, which is actually a funded startup, which would be operating at a different level, right? Then here you want to learn is how funding works. And you also have an opportunity to connect with the venture capitalist, right? You're learning the tricks of the trade. And you also need to learn how to recruit people, because startup is very closed and you need to pick the right kind of people, otherwise it won't work. And finally, identify the co-founders for your own startup. That probably is 2 years. If you are able to get all of these things done, then you move to the next milestone, which is basically start your own. In this case, start your company, get seed funding from your friends and family, right? How would you fund it? You probably may not have a way other than getting funds from your friends and family. You get a seed fund, and then you start the startup and make initial traction. Try to find initial product market fit, which is basically some users using your product, right? This could take like probably 2 years. Now you move to the milestone 5, which is basically scaling and funding. Now here you're trying to see, can you expand your product market fit to more users? Basically more users are using your product, right? Then you can go for seed A funding. So if you look at it, I will have a startup with seed funding in 10 years in healthcare sector in Bangalore, could potentially be split into like these 5 milestones. If you look at 5 of these milestones, right, incremental change from one milestone to the other is small enough that you can do it. But if you say like, hey, I just want to go to a direct startup immediately, you can do that, but the risk associated with that is high. Expertise for you probably is not there, and nobody will trust you. You won't have enough credibility to get funding, right? So there are challenges. So anything, be it a senior software engineer at Google or be it like a startup, you can actually split into milestones and build a path to get to your long-term vision. You can do a similar exercise for your vision. And if you find it difficult, seek help from people to refine your milestones. In this case, if you know startup founders, if your friends, relatives, or even reach out in LinkedIn to somebody who is actually a startup founder and run it with that person. Ask them politely that I want to validate my plan with you. Can you help me? Most of the people would be willing to help you if you have a plan and if you want to work with them. Same thing with the Google, same thing with anything and everything that you want to do. You can build it into this kind of smaller milestones and seek help. Now, we talked about a couple of different things, right? Every plan needs to have a strong execution. If you don't have ability or willingness to execute, none of this is going to work for you. The point is like solid execution is what matters in the long run, right? And the plan, vision, all of that is channeling that execution in the right direction that you can maximize your impact. If you don't execute, then there is no point. Execute each of these milestones diligently. Make sure that you're meeting goals of each of these milestones, right? And if you do not execute, then no chance. Many people are successful without setting a long-term vision, milestone, and all of that because they are solid executors. Given a job or a task, they execute it the best way. So if you do continue to execute, imagine you get to Infosys, you don't have a solid vision, you don't build milestones, you don't do anything. You go to Infosys and you start doing things to the best possible way, right? What would happen is you get promoted, you become like big deal. That's going to happen for sure if you do that. But if you have a long-term vision, thinking, and also execution, then that's different. Then you are multiplying your impact. And again, here, when you think about your execution, this is where the vision matters. You need to be passionate about your vision. You need to really believe in your vision. Then only you can execute diligently for the next 10 years. So make sure that you set your vision accordingly. Tracking progress and success. So the key thing is you cannot improve something that you cannot measure, right? I think this is one of the key things in product management, right? Everything is measured very diligently. If you are making impact, you measure it. If you fail it, like measuring that impact would definitely keep you grounded. You will know whether you're successful or failed. Track your progress towards your vision once in a month, right? Depending on how frequently you want to do. once in a month, like probably once in 2 weeks, depending on where you are. Just make sure that you're progressing towards it. And also design levers to track progress. For example, if your goal is to generate a deep expertise in a specific technology, for example, artificial intelligence, take a test or a certification to prove that. Then you mark that as complete. You achieve that goal. You move to the next one, right? Or count the number of startup founders that you connect personally to measure your network. Each of these depend on exactly on your goal. You need to measure ways to track your progress. Then comes the pivots. No plan is ever static, right? You make the plan and ultimately it may work or may not work. There are so many things into it, right? Sometimes you need to make changes to your plan. There could be external factors or macroeconomic situation that could affect your outcome. Imagine you want to do a startup, but entire thing, economic recession happens, no funding, then whatever you do is not going to work. Or you may even take longer time than you anticipated to make progress. So the milestones that we discussed, we put two years against each of these milestones. It could happen that it may take more time, right? Each of these instances, you may have to make logical pivots and see like what is the next best course of action, right? If you have plan and if you have milestones, it is easy for you to really pivot and figure out what is the other option. If there is an economic recession, then probably you may think that, hey, I want to go lean for some more time before I ask for a funding, right? Things like that you can think of, but this is very important to keep in mind. And the next thing, like we were thinking about your ability to do this, right? There are people to support you, a lot of people, right? Learn from others' failures. Network. It's a golden, whatever the mantra, right? You need to leverage the people who know things. Now, I think at this point, especially at the beginning of your career, it's impossible for you to have a grasp of the industry, grasp of what is professional growth is about, all of that. So reach out to people. People are willing to help you, right? You can actually send out requests in LinkedIn asking for specific things to specific people, and then ask for a quick chat, like 15 minutes. I have these questions. I want to check with you. Can you please help me? And then people would be willing to share their phone numbers and talk to you 15 minutes. And if you're in a city, ask for, generally people in US, especially in my university, people ask for coffee chat. There are industry experts coming in, right? Be it like Google or Facebook or consulting companies like McKinsey, Bain, like you set up coffee chat, talk to them, and then understand how those industries work. What are the skills required? What can you do to improve it, right? This actually multiplies your impact because you are learning from others. Learn from people who did it. Alumni, friends, professors, industry experts. These are all wealth of resource knowledge. So leverage them. Expand your network and connect with people who can help you and bring more clarity. When you think about it, right, the more deeper you think about it, you get more and more clarity. The milestones, vision, all of that becomes super clear as you get more understanding. Seek mentorship. There is actually people who are willing to mentor you, right, or a different part of the career. You can actually reach out to them and see like if there are people who are ready to mentor you, or there are professional mentorship in organizations that you go to. Like for example, if you join Infosys, you can reach out to some senior manager and ask them, can I actually seek your mentorship for my career success? Probably some of them would be willing to help you. And then the final thing is help others before asking for help, right? It's always give and take. It's not that you ask always for help. You also need to go back to contribute, which means probably you come back to Vishwajyoti College and then give other people some valuable lessons or help them, or when they reach out, respond. And then the people are the one set of resources. There are other type of resources too, which is basically the idea is the more information that you have, the higher your chance of success, right? Read books, listen to podcasts. Like there are so many interesting podcasts on startup technology, so many things. Like listen to those, attend conferences, right? There are free, paid, so many different type of conferences. Meet new people, learn about new technology. Do a master's degree if required. Do a side project, right? These are all depending on your milestones and your long-term vision. None of this is mandatory, right? It's up to your context. And then the last thing is risk management. You are sure to fail at least one time, right? Or Probably you may be successful all the time, but sometimes you will fail. It is quite natural. Will you always be successful? Never. It's impossible. Learn to pivot if required, that we talked about it. A plan is never rigid. If a milestone X does not work, what is your backup plan? Think about it. Fail fast. This is actually a mantra in startup everywhere, right? Fail fast. Learn about what you want to do, like do it quickly, fail fast without bigger consequences. I mean, probably at a minimum cost, and never repeat the same mistake. And you learn from. That's why people say like failure is the biggest lesson, right? You learn from failures that way, and celebrate because you did a lot of hard work. You created milestones. You tackled each of these milestones. You're successful. Every milestone is special and big win. So celebrate everything and become super successful. And if one of you make this decision to make a big vision, attempt to do things that you want to do, I'll be extremely happy. Thank you so much. I think that's it. So I think with that, probably let me. So I think should I? The inauguration is the next step, right? Or if people have any questions, please shoot.
Kavya, Nadine, and all, you had always some doubts in which company to choose, what are the protocols. So you can ask them. The basic doubt, Prasant sir, the basic thing is like basic doubt which all the students are having. On behalf of students, I will shoot this question. It's like they always used to ask what is the criteria for choosing, because they have a doubt. I think majority of them are asking one doubt, like whether they have to go for MS directly after their BTech, or else like work for 2 years or 3 years, then take a leave if the company provides, or else directly. So which one? So that's the one question which everybody used to ask, even to me and to all faculties that I used to ask this question. So you may be a better person to answer this. Whether to work for 1 or 2 years or to directly go for MS. That's what.
Yeah, so I think again, my understanding, I did MBA, for which experience is definitely required, right? But MS experience is not required. I mean, as based on whatever books, but I think if you have experience, what would happen is like how the industry works, right? You have a much better sense of understanding of how the projects work, what are the things that is demanded in industry, and you will have a much better sense of understanding when you learn these subjects in the university. So that's one thing. But I think if you go to MS in US, your job first, the key job channel for you is through internship, right? And internship probably may not matter much whether you have experience or not experience. Let me think about the framework. I would say if your immediate experience is going to help you in getting your long-term career, then yes. For example, if you want to, like in your case, right, you want to go to US and work for some product companies, like be it Google, Facebook, or any of that, then would this experience in Infosys or CTS or any of those companies would help in that direction? I'm not sure, because these are service companies, and if you want to get into product companies, it is actually different. But if you just go directly after graduation to US and do an MS, it should also work. I have seen several people coming to Facebook as interns and getting their jobs without much experience directly after. I don't think it is necessary, but if you think you have a better perspective after working, like you go and join some company, if you don't need to make that decision immediately, right? You have an offer, you go to the company, join there, work for some time, and then you see like whether this makes sense to me, right? 2 or 3 years, the same experience is going to expand my perspective. Yes. Otherwise, I don't think it matters. If you have the money, probably you just go there, study, and then do a very good job, crack all those algos, and get into some of these best places. Or scholarship, right? And money is one thing. Scholarship is also possible. I don't know whether I answered your question.
Yeah, thank you, Prashant. Yeah, this is what I also used to say, even though I don't have your experience, but still I used to say the same thing, like work for 2 years, 1 year, so that they'll get an idea about, and they'll be little more, what to say, in a bigger pressure, so that they can manage the pressure of a abroad university also. So all these things.
Yeah,
So that's one.
Financial independence is one big thing, and I think it depends. Like it depends on how big your dream is. I mean, if you want to work for big places, probably it's good to think about how to get to the best universities, right? That's another thing. I mean, not every you can still get to bigger companies after experience. But for example, I'll give you an example, right? When I did my MBA, I always, I mean, just like everybody else, I want to work for some top places. And I sent my resume to Google, and I got a response after some time saying that we have much more qualified candidates for this position, so we are just keeping your profile at this time. But then, if you look back, it is basically that do you have the right kind of skill set, right? Then later, after 2 years at experience in Groupon as a product manager, I have reached out from Google all the time. Now at Facebook, I get reach out from all of these people, right? Because the question is like whether you have the right skill set that they are looking. Every time you look for a job, think from an employer's perspective. Never think from your perspective. The biggest mistake that we make, at least I made in the past, is like, hey, I want this job. I want this job. That is quite normal, right? But why should they give you the job is the more important question, right? My rejection from Google at that point is obvious, right? They have like people who founded the startup, like they have people who are coming from completely different context. So, but now I don't have that problem because over a period of time, I was able to gain the right kind of skill set and credibility. That's another thing. Big universities and institutions would add a sense of credibility to you. For example, if you go to like Stanford University, I mean, I'm just giving you an example, right? It doesn't. Stanford is not the end of the world. If you go to the Stanford University, then people will look at your resume and then say like, hey, this guy has gone to Stanford, and then probably he's good. You can build the same level of credibility 2-3 years if you don't go to Stanford, right? If you go to somebody else, but over with the work experience and the right kind of product impact that you generate over a period of time, then the employer will know that. It's just like what I have faced, right? With the Groupon experience, now Google recruiter looks at my profile and then they say like, okay, this guy has enough experience and credibility.
Thank you.
Sir, I had a doubt. Whenever we talk to our mentors or seniors, they would always say that choose the hot field, like the fields which are hot in technical field, and don't go for the obvious fields and obvious technical fields. But all these hot fields and the latest fields might not be there in the future, right? There might be a downfall. We can't assume their future. For example, the obvious fields they say cybersecurity. Cybersecurity is always going to be there in the future. Till the computer is there, security will be there. So how does this hot field, like choosing the hot field, give us the security or the surety that our job is going to be secure and our future is going to be secure?
Yeah, so I think job being secure is, I don't know, probably is an old concept. I mean, every time the jobs are changing, our
Yeah.
jobs are not secure, but we are getting new type of jobs, right? So that's always the thing. In technology, this was there before, right? You learn the SAP for a long time, and then something else comes up when you get replaced by that. So I think if you're willing to learn new technologies, then nothing is stopping you, right? You just get into cybersecurity. Cybersecurity has a lot of improvements coming up. Like you just do newer certifications, right? You upgrade constantly. Then you will probably will be never be outdated, right? But if you're thinking like, hey, I will do one-time investment on cybersecurity, learn all of that, and then I will use this leverage to propel my career, then probably that's not the right approach, right? 2-3 years down the line, something else comes up, right? But if you are willing to adapt and learn new stuff, you don't need to worry. I don't think you need to be bothered.
Yes.
Any field would, cloud computing, cybersecurity, artificial intelligence, or going to data science, any of these things would work. Many of these things have a lot of demand. And then the more you upgrade yourself, you should be fine. Good.
Okay, sir.
Any other questions? Okay, I think there is no questions. Over to you, Kavya.
Sir, Kavya got disconnected, I think. She has left the meeting.
Okay.
Yeah, she's doing. Kavya, you can continue.
Yes. Yeah. So, thank you for an amazing session, sir. It was actually a pep talk for us fourth years because it was actually eye-opening. So that's it. And yeah, so the roots of all goodness lie in the soil of appreciation for goodness. And with this, I would like to invite Mr. Naveen Joseph, Association Secretary, for the vote of thanks.
Yeah, before you give a vote of thanks, first of all, thank you so much, everybody, for inviting me and listening to me patiently. I don't know how much of that content made sense to you, but if that made sense, and if you make any decisions with that long-term vision, I would be super delighted. Thanks so much, everyone, and wish you all the best.
Thank you, sir. Good morning. Jobin sir, you have anything to say?
Thank you so much, Prasan sir, for accepting our invitations and being part of our association inauguration.
Okay, so good morning to esteemed guests, students, and teachers present here. It's my honor to have been asked to deliver a vote of thanks on this occasion. The association members extend their gratitude towards the esteemed guests for joining in for the inauguration, despite the fact that it was connected online. And I do hope that everyone thoroughly enjoyed the occasion. Being the Computer Science Association Secretary, I believe that this academic year, we will do more activities that will benefit the students. And being a fourth year student, I want my juniors to have the best college life, best academic life in Vishuddhi this year. So, first and foremost, I would like to express my sincere gratitude to our respected director, Father Paul Nuremberg, who is the backbone and the guardian spirit of our institution. Thank you, Father, for your constant support and confidence in us. Next, I'm very grateful to our dear respected principal, Dr. K.K. Rajan sir, the catalyst that inspired us to do our best and stand as a pillar of power. And I also express our sincere gratitude to our Vice Principal, Dr. Mr. Somip Matthew, for your continuous dedication and support, sir. And we would like to acknowledge our generous gratitude to the chief guest of this event, Mr. Prashant sir. Sir, your words were very inspiring, and being a fourth year student, it was very thoughtful, and it gave us many visions. And thank you so much, sir, for sparing your time and your busy schedule, busy life. Thank you, sir. Thank you again from the Vishuddhi Computer Science family, sir. And I would also like to thank our dear HOD Amal sir, who's leading the computer science department, who always motivate us for the best and who always leads us for the good path, good ways in our life. Thank you, Amal sir. And next, I thank our dearest mentor, Dean R&D Anshin sir, who always motivates us, who always leads us, and who always shares his experience from his life to do the best in our life, to the best as a professional and as an engineer. Thank you, Anshin sir. And the one who is behind this one beautiful event is our dear Jobin sir. Jobin sir, thank you for organizing this event and for your continuous dedication. And last but not the least, I express my thanks to all the students and teachers who are present here for the association inauguration. And I also wish to say wonderful year, academic year ahead for the computer science students of Vishuddhi. Once again, I thank you all who are present here and who helped for making this event a success. Thank you all.
Once again, thank you, Mr. Prashant. And thank you all, Javin sir, Anishan sir,
Thank you.
Naveen, and Kavya. Thank you all.
Thanks, everyone. And thanks, Anshin, for inviting me.
Thank you so much,
Thank
Prasan
you.
sir.
Thank you, all of you.
Thank you all.
Thank you, sir.